Association and the American Board of Cosmetic. Hello, my colleagues in Saudi Arabia. It is Dr. El Attar, the president of the American Aesthetic Association and the American Board of Cosmetic Gynecology based in the United States. It is my honor and pleasure to invite you to our next fellowship program planned in Saudi Arabia. It is our 10th program that complete the number of trained physicians that went through our 4-day program, up to more than 300 trained doctors. As you know, cosmetic gynecology is the most expansive, exploding subspecialty in medicine in 2023. This is a new field in the field of obstetric and gynecology that is a must for all gynecologists to learn. The reason why? Because patients have menopause around the age of 45 to 50. It means that they will have 30 to 35 years of living with periods, but the postmenopausal women, who are 1 billion women worldwide today, and increasing 20% in that number every year because of the baby boomer population, need your help. Need your help to have a normal life. 50% of women postmenopausally have vulvovaginal atrophy. 50% of women after the age of 50 have stress urinary incontinence, and they will live with these problems for decades after they lose their periods, can be 3-4 decades. It is a moral responsibility for all of you to master the knowledge of how to treat patients with functional gynecology, to have them, according to the World Health Organization, healthy. Health is defined by the World Health Organization as complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. When you come to the American Aesthetic Association course that we're planning here in Saudi the next few months, you will learn everything about the applied anatomy, how to do genital bleaching, how to utilize fillers and Botox to help women with atrophy of the genital area, dryness problem, vulvovaginal atrophy, and vaginismus, which is 7 to 15% affecting women worldwide. As well, we're going to learn how to use platelet-rich plasma as help to improve vulvovaginal atrophy and things like lichen sclerosis and scars from episiotomy, Bartholin cystectomy, or bad C-section complication. As well, you're going to learn everything about the basic knowledge and the physics of energy-based devices, including laser, including HIFU, including radio frequency, as well as high-intensity focused ultrasound. I'm waiting to see all of you soon in Saudi Arabia to transfer our knowledge and bring our international faculty and be with our Saudi colleagues here in Saudi Arabia and share the knowledge. Looking forward to see all of you very soon. Thank you. Hello, my colleagues in Saudi Arabia. It is Dr. El Attar, the president of the American Aesthetic Association and the American Board of Cosmetic Gynecology based in the United States. It is my honor and pleasure to invite you to our next fellowship program planned in Saudi Arabia. It is our 10th program that complete the number of trained physicians that went through our 4-day program, up to more than 300 trained doctors. As you know, cosmetic gynecology is the most expansive, exploding subspecialty in medicine in 2023. This is a new field in the field of obstetrics and gynecology that is a must for all gynecologists to learn. The reason why? Because patients have menopause around the age of 45 to 50. It means that they will have 30 to 35 years of living with periods, but the postmenopausal women, who are 1 billion women worldwide today, and increasing 20% in that number every year because of the baby boomer population, need your help. Need your help to have a normal life. 50% of women postmenopausally have vulvovaginal atrophy. 50% of women after the age of 50 have stress urinary incontinence, and they will live with these problems for decades after they lose their periods, can be 3-4 decades. It is a moral responsibility for all. Hi, this is Dr. Ayman Al-Attar from United States. I'll be one of the speakers of the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress in Dubai 2023.
Hi, this is Red Al-Ansad from Dallas, Texas. I am a speaker at the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress in Dubai. See you there.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Carolyn DeLucia, and I'm inviting you to join us once again in Dubai for October 6th through 9 for the IAGC conference. You know it's the place to be when it comes to cosmetic gynecology and aesthetic gynecology. Join us and learn the latest and the greatest. See you there!
Είμαι ο Νίκος Ναόμ, κοσμητικός γυναικολόγος από την Ελλάδα. Θα είμαι ένας από τους ομιλητές στο Παγκόσμιο Συνέδριο Κοσμητικής Γυναικολογίας που θα γίνει στις 6 με 8 Οκτωβρίου του 2023 στο Ντουμπάι. Θα σας δω όλους εκεί.
Γεια σας, είμαι η Μαρία Καρακουλάκη και τον Οκτώβριο θα μιλάω στο Διεθνές Συνέδριο Αισθητικής Γυναικολογίας στο Ντουμπάι. Θα σας δω εκεί.
Herkese merhaba. İstanbul'dan kozmetik jinekolog Doktor Özgür Ağlamış ben. Bu sene 2023'te International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress tekrardan Dubai'de düzenleniyor. Doktor Ayman El-Attar her sene muhteşem bir bilimsel şölen hazırlıyor. Bu alanda, genital estetik alanında dünyanın en iyileri bu kongreye geliyor. Tecrübelerini meslektaşlarıyla paylaşıyor. Ben de bu kongrede tecrübelerimi meslektaşlarımla paylaşacağım. Bu muhteşem organizasyonu Doktor Ayman El-Attar'ın düzenlediği bu kongreyi kaçırmayın. 6-8 Ekim tarihinde Dubai'de görüşmek dileğiyle. Sağlıkla kalın, hoşça kalın.
Dzień dobry, nazywam się Piotr Kolczewski, jestem z Polski, jestem ginekologiem plastycznym i mam wielką przyjemność być wykładowcą na kolejnym kongresie Towarzystwa Ginekologii Plastycznej prowadzonego przez Aymana El-Attara w październiku 2023 roku. Do zobaczenia.
Dzień dobry, nazywam się Rafał Kuźlik, jestem ginekologiem plastycznym z Polski, z Warszawy, z kliniki Saskamed i mam przyjemność być lektorem zaproszonym na kolejny Międzynarodowy Kongres IAGC 2023 w Dubaju, który odbędzie się w dniach 6, 7, 8 października. Zapraszam, zobaczmy się tam. Do zobaczenia.
السلام عليكم، أنا الدكتور أحمد البدر، أدعوكم إلى مؤتمر التجميل النسائي في دبي أكتوبر 2023. أهلا وسهلا.
Bonjour, je suis le Dr Hichem Ben Smaïl et c'est un grand honneur pour moi de vous inviter au Congrès international de gynécologie esthétique et fonctionnelle qui aura lieu à Dubaï du 6 au 8 octobre de cette année 2023. Donc je serai très heureux de vous retrouver là et je vous dis à bientôt.
سلام، دکتر شهناز شایانفر، جراح و متخصص زنان و زایمان و کاسمتیک اند ریکانستراکتیو سرجن از ایران هستم. من در IAGC 2023 سخنرانی خواهم داشت در دبی و امیدوارم شما رو ببینم. متشکر، خداحافظ.
با سلام و احترام، دکتر شهرزاد شعبانی نیا هستم، فلوشیپ کازماتیک سرجری. به عنوان یک ایرانی مفتخر هستم در بهترین و بزرگترین کنگره زیبایی زنان IAGC سخنران باشم. به امید دیدار شما در دبی اکتبر 2023.
السلام عليكم. أنا دكتور عمرو عباسي من مصر. أدعوكم لحضور المؤتمر التجميل النسائي الوظيفي المقام في 6 أكتوبر 2023. أراكم على خير.
أنا دكتور عمرو أبو اليزيد من مصر. أنا محاضر في المؤتمر الدولي الخامس للتجميل الأنثوي المقام في دبي من 6 ل 8 أكتوبر 2023. أشوفكم على خير.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rupila Bhatia, working as Head of Urogynecology and Cosmetic Gynecology in Mediclinic Jawahara Alain. I'm one of the speakers for the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress from 6th to 8th of October. See you all there.
السلام عليكم. أنا الدكتور أيمن قطاونة من الأردن عمان. بدعوكم لحضور مؤتمر التجميل النسائي والذي سيقام في دبي إن شاء الله بشهر 10. نراكم هناك إن شاء الله.
مرحبا، معكم دكتور ريهام علي من سوريا. رح أكون محاضرة بمؤتمر التجميل النسائي العالمي المقام بدبي. نلقاكم هناك.
Test. Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Elatar from New Jersey, United States. I'm here to share with you our experience with mechanisms of facial aging and their management. So the big question is, how do we end up being so aged and old? And the question is, why do we age, and do we really have to? So speaking of that, this is a little bit about my background. I did surgical oncology for 12 years, and I have been practicing aesthetic medicine and surgery in New Jersey and New York since 2002. Currently, I'm the sitting president of the American Aesthetic Association and the president of the American Board of Cosmetic Gynecology. I do have some disclosures, but none of it is actually interfering with what I'm going to be presenting to you here. So if you look at the age progression of many of the celebrities that you know, like John Travolta, these kind of changes, interval changes over decades or these, you would think that this is a natural phenomenon. Unfortunately, in my opinion, these kind of changes is not a natural phenomenon. It's a simple pathology. The pyramids were built about 4,750 years ago by the third family that governed Egypt, and it's still standing. 160 years ago, 160 years before Jesus, Terenzio Afro, a poet in the comedy Formio, have put that dictum senectus ipsa morpus, which means simply that aging is a simple disease. So where do we stand now? 1917, the life expectancy of men was 47.4 years. Life expectancy of women was about 54. As you see, the world is aging. In the United States now, the life expectancy of men and women are in the range of 80s. It means that there is a expansive progression worldwide of the lifespan of humans with advances of medical sciences. So this actually where this lecture had been given previously, and I'm sure I have met a few of you in person in one of these spots. So if you look at the online remarks about longevity, we see here the first person who lived to be 150 is already alive. I think it's my granddaughter who's a year and 2 months now. Secrets of living 200 years sound like magic, but if we just imagine that humans have roamed this planet for 7 million years, and everything that happened in our life that we see for granted, like our iPhones, this Zoom meeting via computers and so forth, and airline travel and so happened in the past 100 years of 7 million years. And now we're talking about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and so forth. The progression of science will allow the longevity of humans to extend beyond anything imaginable. So again, would this be considered as a natural phenomenon? Absolutely not. It shouldn't ever be considered as a natural phenomenon. It's a simple pathology. And now we have the scientific means to decipher these secrets or the pathogenesis of this problem and understand it before we run to treat it with botulinum toxin or fillers or mesotherapy or even facelifting. So in order for us to understand what happens over decades of living on this planet, we have to try to divide it into some form of categorical causation. The first entity is something from within. We all have our traits from 7 million years ago inherited as a sequence of 4 amino acids. adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. And that what we give as the human genome or chromosome that determine your traits, your longevity, the diseases that you might develop over time. And this human genome took 13 years between 1990 until April of 2003 to decipher and read, costing $1.2 billion. Now in the United States, you can get the human genome read in 1 day for a cost of $750. And within 2 years, a project of HealBrick will take a HealBrick from the newborn infants and can read the human genome of them within 1 hour with a cost of $100. All humans from the beginning of life until the end of the universe share 99.9% of that human genome. The differences between all of us is only 0.1%. So the intrinsic factor is genetically determined mainly. The second issue is the movement. We are moving, we are smiling, we are frowning, we are expressing, like bending a straw at Starbucks. After you bend it for a few times, that green straw have a white line. We call that a static line or a static wrinkle. If you continue to bend the straw more and more, you can fracture it into two pieces. And that will happen with breaking the skin due to movement. You can always see that the static wrinkles are laying perpendicular to the direction of the fiber of the muscle causing them. Again, genetics, I explained that we carry these traits of aging. How do we age? Are we going to age quickly or are we going to age gracefully? By this simple sequence of these 4 amino acids in your chromosome. With gene therapy, we can make a lot of modulation in the way we age and deteriorate. Third is hormonal, and we're going to discuss this in details later, but in general, as we grow more mature, your hormones will decrease in general. That's why a lot of people are on thyroid replacement, like Synthroid or Levoxin. And one hormone increases, which is the cortisol, the hormone of black hormone or the hormone of death. The sensitivity of the receptors are diminished. That's why we give diabetic people some insulin receptor sensitizer like metformin, as well as the feedback mechanism between the thyroid, the suprarenal, the pituitary gland, and so forth is disrupted. And finally, the natural degradation of our hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is an integral part of every living species. It's the most hygroscopic substance on Earth. 1 gram of hyaluronic acid absorbs 6 liters of water around it, and it is universally antigenic between bacteria and humans, so there is no cross allergy between hyaluronic acid from a bacteria, and that's how we make it in the factory for all the fillers in the world from Streptococcus equi. But because of the presence of hyaluronidase enzyme, the naturally occurring hyaluronidase enzyme, we have loss of about 10% of our hyaluronic acid in the interstitial tissue every decade after 25. So after 25, we start losing the interstitial hyaluronic acid, and that can lead to strains, lead to aches, body aches, and so forth. So you can jump on a trampoline when you're 25 and come down laughing. But if you try to do the same when you're 80, you can fracture your pelvis. Let's look at the extrinsic factors. Ultraviolet radiation, one of the electromagnetic radiation in the universe, where it's below the violet, which is 400 nanometer. So we have 3 types of ultraviolet radiation. Ultraviolet C, which is prevented by the ozone layer 50 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, which is 3 oxygens, except above Australia because of the defect in the ozone layer or ozone hole, which healed, by the way, during COVID era. And then now it's opened again. And UVC is a very short wavelength between 0 and 280 nanometer, and it penetrates through the 70 micron epidermis. It is 6 times more cancerous than UVB and UVA. And that's why we have 6 times more incidence of cancer in Australia than in New York, for example. While UVB, responsible for the tanning, with a wavelength between 280 and 315 nanometer, penetrates into the papillary dermis, and that can cause you to have a tan during summertime, but you can't have the tan in wintertime because it's responsible. It is related to the latitude of the Earth during different seasons. While UVA, the most long wavelength of them, between the 280, between the 315 and 400 nanometer, is more deeply penetrating into the reticular dermis, where you have your fibroblasts, the machines or the factories that makes your collagen. And it actually present year round, it's not seasonal. And that's why we advise our patients, even when it's snowing in New York, or we have a blizzard, or we have a thunderstorm, like here today, we have a thunderstorm in New Jersey. We tell the patient, you have to wear the sunscreen to protect yourself from the effect of UVA for aging. It's the longest wavelength. So these factors will over time destroy your collagen, thins out your skin, and so forth, have these effects on your skin look. The second issue with the extrinsic factor, we're living on that planet Earth, which is considered an aberration in the universe, because NASA have been spending trillions of dollars over decades trying to locate another suitable planet to live in case something happened to planet Earth. But until now, we couldn't find anything similar to planet Earth in its criteria. Gravitational forces pull on your structures 18 hours a day or 16 hours a day, depending on how much you sleep a day. So somebody like me who sleeps like 6 hours or less, maybe 18 hours a day. But if you sleep 8 hours a day, this is the time where gravitational forces are nullified. But other than that, there is gravitational pull on your structures, so you can have dropping of your upper eyelid, you can have showing of the tear trough underneath your eye, showing the orbital rim. You can have deepening of the nasolabial fold with gravitational forces below your structures. You can have marionette line, jowl formation, double or a turkey neck, breast sagging, abdominal pannus, thigh drop, and all these structures yielding to gravity. But if you lay down or look in yourself laying flat with a mirror in the ceiling, you look very young. So gravitational forces exert a lot of factor in the process of human aging or deterioration. Another factor as well is what increase the oxygen-free radical action rusting your body, including industrial toxins, pollution, as well as smoking and vaping. So looking at these three factors before, I can describe them as the triple Ds of aging: descent by gravity, deterioration by the effect of ultraviolet radiation and electromagnetic waves, and deflation. Deflation like a balloon. When you first have it, it's shiny, it's beautiful. But if you leave it in a room for a few days and come back to check it out, you can find that it have a lusterless look and have deflated, like an older lady in a nursing home versus her granddaughter. Usually babies have such a cute face because they have fat faces. And if this fat is gone, like if you have a cancer or kwashiorkor or marasmus or something, you look much more aged because of that deflation factor. So in this slide, you can actually understand that when your patient comes for botulinum toxin treatment for dynamic wrinkles, you can actually look in their faces and see the footprints in the snow where that camel was walking in the desert. There is evidence, there is a forensic evidence where the muscles have been active. You can always see that the static lines or the breaks in the skin are running perpendicular to the direction of the fibers causing them. So we have transverse creases here or transverse static lines across the forehead, running perpendicular to the direction of the orbicula of the occipital frontalis muscle or frontalis muscle. You can see that the smile lines or the crow's feet always running perpendicular to the direction of the sphincter called orbicularis oculi, as well as we can see the barcode, which is direction of the wrinkles is perpendicular to the piercing effect or orbicularis oris. And that's why FDA has approved botulinum toxin for moderate to severe glabellar frown in 2002 for this group of muscles, the procerus and the corrugator. In 2017 for the frontalis muscle. In 2013 for the oral barcode or smoker's line, as well as for the smile lines around the orbit as well. Comes to the descent, as I described to you, with gravitational forces. Every decade we see some form of drop. First, we see drop in your eyebrow. Second, we see exposure to the medial tear trough becomes intermediate, and lateral becomes a full exposure to the tear trough, like opening a curtain in your living room. Then you're going to see that the nasolabial fold have deepened because of that vertical descent. The mouth start to invert, what we call the inverted smile, and the jowl start developing with formation of a marionette line. And it goes without saying, this will be associated as well with dropping of the neck, and we have a double chin that will require neck lifting. A perfect young female face is an egg with the tip to the bottom. The interjugal distance should be 20% smaller than the interzygomatic distance. So the cheeks should be 20% wider than the sides of the angles of the jaw. And if you continue to fill the lower third of the face for patients with fillers over and over again, what you're going to do, you're simply going to rhomboid the face, flipping that egg and making the egg tip to the top. And that will give the rhomboid appearance, which is usually associated with older faces, not younger faces. So you can see here the gravitational forces have lead to dropping of her eyelid, exposure of her medial, intermediate, lateral tear trough, deepening of her nasolabial fold, formation of a marionette line and a jowl, and you can see her face more of a rhomboid rather than a oval. These are the three different ultraviolets that I spoke about: UVC, which is 0 to 280, UVB, which is 280 to 315, and UVA 315 to 400. Again, as a reminder of the anatomy of the skin, we have 70 micron of 5 layers of skin: stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, and finally the 20 microns of stratum corneum. This is avascular epidermis, is responsible for human tan color. That's why we're not red creatures, although we are full of blood. We are full of 5 liters of blood, but we don't look red, we look tan because of this opaque layer. And this opaque avascular layer has to live through diffusion of nutrients from this very rich papillary dermis, which is 1 millimeter deep plexus of blood vessels. With this diffusion of nutrients from the plexus of blood vessels, you can have a survival of this. And that's why when you lose this, let's say by a first-degree burn or by an accident, or you scratch yourself on the asphalt playing tennis or something, it hurts like hell because you expose the nerve ending in the papillary dermis. And in order for us to be able to have enough diffusion of nutrients, God have created these reeds or papillary projections between the epidermis and the papillary dermis to allow more diffusion. And hence, when we grow older, these papillary projections will flatten, like becomes a lake rather than an ocean, and that will reduce the nutrition going to the epidermis, which lead to thinning of the epidermis. Then we have an imaginary line between the papillary and reticular dermis, which contain or host what we call pilosebaceous units, the hair follicle, the sebaceous gland, the sweat glands, and so forth. If you cross that imaginary line without a permit or a visa, whether with trauma, whether with laser, whether with a peel, whatever it is, you create a permanent surgical scar and hopefully not a lawsuit. So you have to be very, very careful. So again, these are the three types of ultraviolet radiation all of you should be aware of, whether you're a dermatologist or not. And after the 400, we all know this is where the start of the rainbow is, or start of the violet color. So how does the sun destroy our collagen and cause us to deteriorate? Three mechanisms. The first mechanism is the release of reactive oxygen species. Reactive oxygen species, look at it like putting a nail, stainless steel nail on the beach and leave it for a month. You come back and it's rusted because of this reactive oxygen species causes oxidative damage to the cellular components, whether it's a biphospholipid membrane called the cell wall, whether it is the mitochondria, which is your energy factory, or your nuclear power plants in the cell, and as well as your chromosomes itself, your DNA. And the other thing that sun does is reduction of transforming growth factors. Transforming growth factor alpha and beta are the precursor of collagen because they will give you the building blocks in the form of procollagen, and procollagen will give you collagen 1 with polymerization over 3 months. We'll have collagen 3 or elastin. And that's why a lot of you are already using platelet-rich plasma. Platelet-rich plasma have many, many growth factors, up to 370 plus. One of the most significant ones, other than angiogenic growth factors, are the transforming growth factor alpha and beta. The third mechanism is the activator protein 1 induction. An activator protein 1 induction will lead to induction of metalloproteinase enzyme. Metalloproteinase enzyme is created for wound remodeling. We remember from the third year medical school in pathology, we learn the phases of wound healing. Whether you did a liposuction on a patient or you had a car accident and fractured the femur, the wound have 3 phases of wound healing. The first month is called the exudation phase. And the exudation phase, there will be a formation of a fibrin scaffold, the laying of a lot of liquid in the area. And that's why the X-ray of a broken bone in the first month looks with a lot of soft tissue swelling. Month 2, 3, and 4, your immune system will come and macrophages will lay velvety, vascular, tender granulation tissue. We call this the proliferative phase. And if you ever take a patient after surgery, like a liposuction, and try to suction them again in month 2, 3, and 4 postoperative, you will only have blood coming out of your tube, and you shouldn't ever have done that. Month 5 through month 8, the metalloproteinase enzyme will induce the osteoclasts to eat the extra callus around this broken bone, where the X-ray show that excessive callus in month 2, 3, and 4, and start remodeling this broken bone. So through month 8, you will see a normal femur with no fracture line. And in case of liposuction, all the nodules and bumps and lumps that bother patient is gone, and patient contract very nicely. So if you abnormally induce this enzyme, that will destroy the collagen breakdown. and will cause the collagen or elastin to be destroyed, and now the skin is not retractile anymore. It becomes like a bubble gum. When you chew it, take it out of your mouth and stretch it, it never recoils because it's fibrin. It doesn't recoil. It's like a rope, not like a rubber band. Something again about metalloproteinase that we have to remember, the cause of keloid. Some patients will have hypertrophic scar because of relative deficiency of that enzyme. So their scars usually are red, itchy, elevated, and last about 2 years and self-regressing. But if you have absolute deficiency of the metalloproteinase enzyme for wound remodeling, you can end up with a keloid. And a keloid is different from a hypertrophic scar by the fact that it does stay like a freight train without brakes, stays forever, and you have to manage it either by surgical excision or using a formula of 8 parts of 5-fluorouracil, which is a cytotoxic agent used for breast cancer, and 1 part of Kenalog or triamcinolone acetinoid, 10%. So this is a typical example of a 50-year-old living in Tibet, exposed to the sun, smoking, and what we have here is what we call solar elastosis. Solar elastosis. The skin is broken, so many lines, there's atrophy, and of course, smoking doesn't help. So looking at what Kligman in 1986 published as what we call photoaging. Photoaging simply is a collection of 4 elements. New vascularization, because the tissue tries to protect itself with more blood vessels. People look at it like maybe it's rosacea, it's porous vessels around my nose, around my cheek. Irregular pigmentation because of the lack of normal melanogenesis by your melanocytes in the sun-exposed area. We have 4 keratinocytes intervening with 1 melanocyte, and irregular melanogenesis will lead to sunspots. Of course, the breaking down of elastin or rubber bands into fibrin will get the skin to yield and becomes more flat and descend with gravity. You can see as well bumps and lumps. You can see seborrheic keratosis or excessive formation of skin. And in Black people, we call this dermatosis papulosis nigra, like a case of Morgan Freeman. You can see as well here in this picture, you can appreciate the deflation of the lip because of the natural progression of hyaluronic acid degradation, 10% every decade after 25. So this is seborrheic keratosis. This is irregular pigmentation or regular melanogenesis. That's why you see sunspots and so forth. These are static wrinkles or static lines you can see all over. And this is new formed blood vessels or new vascularization. Deflation. We deflate on all levels. We deflate on the skin, subcutaneous tissue, and bone. So deflation is like having a balloon, and over time it loses its energy. We deflate in every level. We deflate in the temporal fossa, around the eyelid, in the malar triangular apex of the cheek, this is the malar triangle, in infrazygomatic, over the nasolabial fold and marionette line. So all this deflation will lead eventually to appearance of aging. And to manage deflation, we have 3 different valid options. The first option, which most of you uses, is synthetic fillers. You put something. 85% of fillers on planet Earth, because of its reversibility, are based on hyaluronic acid. So we have so many fillers in the world, about 350 commercially available types. Only in the United States where I practice have 5, Restylane, Perlane, Juvederm, Napolatero, and Revanese Versa, which was recently FDA approved in 2017. And we have few of them in the 20 range and CE approved, while the rest are not for many reasons. So synthetic fillers, whether you're using hyaluronic acid filler using calcium hydroxyapatite or Radius, use Belafil or polymethyl acrylate, which is more of a permanent filler. Whether using polylactic acid crystals or Sculptra, if you know how to do it. All these are temporizing measures and usually have a longevity anywhere between 1.5 years. The second option is to use a silicone implant, like a cheek implant, a chin implant, the same with breast implants or buttocks implant. And the third, which is more valuable and more definitive, is autologous fat grafting, which is getting more and more popularity now. Now we understand the basics of fat grafting and how can we make sure that our grafts will survive nicely, especially with new techniques where we have only 1.6 millimeter fat droplets injected and combine it with some boosting measures like the use of platelet-rich plasma with angiogenic growth factors. So I would definitely encourage all of you to learn that procedure, which is very easy to learn, and with time you will master it. Because fat is not only a filler, but I call it the biological filler. Every syringe of fat have 20 to 30% of its cellular count of adipocytes, while 30 to 40% of the cell count in this tube is made of adipose-derived stem cells. And that's why fat grafting is getting more and more popular, and it should be something on your list if you don't do it. This is an example of what happened with time. Why the face changes from this to this? Because of the thinning or flattening of the reeds, dermoepidermal reeds or junction, there will be less and less diffusion of nutrients from the very vascular papillary dermis plexus into the avascular epidermis. And when you have this flattening, you'll have less diffusion. Accordingly, you'll have thinning of the epidermis, which is usually 70 microns, so it will be much more smaller, as well as with all the factors I mentioned, whether it's exposure to pollution, to smoking, to ultraviolet radiation, and so forth, there will be destruction of the organized collagen fiber, and will be disorganization, loss of collagen fibers, and reduced vascular tissue in the underlying dermis. This is a graph representation of its natural loss of hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid, like I told you, it is the main interstitial substance in all living species. It is responsible for intercellular messaging and nutrition. And we have it in our system at 20 milligram per cml in natural condition. And with progression of age after the age 25, we start losing our hyaluronic acid 10% at every decade until we reach about 10% by the age of 70. So you will be more having more strains, more neck sprains, more aches and pains, and sometimes even fractures. Again, this is what happens when progression of time. Fat is always divided into superficial fat compartments and deep fat compartments, and both of them will atrophy or decrease with progression of time, and that's why we try to replace this fat on both planes or biplanar fat grafting to reduce the effect of deflation that happen with progression of time. Even the bone, you can see here, the bony orbital rim widens. If you take an X-ray of somebody who's 20 and now it is 90, you can see much more widening of the orbital rim and enlargement of this bone resorption. And that can be definitely addressed if you're using something like calcium hydroxyapatite, which is of a cartilage type of a nature for correction, or if using adipose-derived stem cells from the fat grafts They can have a role as well in rejuvenating these bony losses that happens with age. Let's talk about darker skin types. Some of you work in areas where you have darker skin types. So darker skin types have a natural protective SPF of 13.4 as compared to 3.4 in skin type 2. An average of 55% of the ultraviolet radiation penetrate Caucasian skin, while fewer than 18% in the African American skin happens. And that's why here in America, we always see that darker skin type patients or African American patients age much more gracefully than lighter colored patients. Again, there are specific problems that happen with African American skin, including changes in the texture of skin and more roughness, appearance of dermatosis papulosis nigra. The most common example or most famous example is Morgan Freeman. And of course, he doesn't treat that with KTB 532 laser, which is the treatment of choice, but because he doesn't want to lose his contract, but he would definitely look much younger if he loses his DPNs. And other than that is the recurring hyperpigmentation and the dyschromias and something called idiopathic guttate hypomelanosis, where you can see all these white areas in the skin, which is like mini vitiligo area, which is very hard to address. So let's talk about some classifications here. The first classification is Fitzpatrick wrinkle classification. Fitzpatrick was working Harvard in the 70s, and he put that classification for the two sphincters in the face, around your eye and around your mouth, orbicularis oculi, orbicularis oris. You have three of them, either something very superficial, which is usually epidermal, or something a little bit deeper, which is a wrinkle, which is dermal, or a fold. So we have class 1, which is fine line that can respond nicely to laser resurfacing and chemical peeling. We have class 2, where we have wrinkles that can respond to filling material and other subcision and deeper fillers. Or we can have folds, and in this case, you will have to resort to something more anti-gravitational, like facelifting, or whoever does the threads, although I think the threads, as all of you know, is good for a few months, but the results are usually not lasting, and it's extremely expensive when it comes to dollar and cents about the amount of money that you spend in purchasing these threads and charging the patients is probably half of the cost of a surgical facelift. The second classification depends on the amount of makeup that the patient needs to wear. So Glogau classification classified 4 degrees of aging of the face, depending on how much makeup or camouflage needs to be done. The first one is mild, when we have very few wrinkles, require little or no makeup. The second is moderate, where you have early wrinkling and sallow complexion, and that require little foundation. Most of my patients come to my office, and probably yours as well, where you have persistent wrinkling, a lot of photoaging, a lot of dyschromias, a lot of broken capillaries, some bumps and lumps like solar keratosis. And these patients have to wear makeup. Once they wash their face, they look totally different. They look much less appealing. So this is the advanced cases. While the severe cases, like this patient you see on the right-hand side of the slide, there is severe wrinkling, furrows, and solar keratosis, and those are the patients who will probably need more aggressive measures like full carbon dioxide fractional resurfacing several times in association with platelet-rich plasma application, and probably surgical rhabdomectomy or facelifting. Regarding the atrophy, the degree of atrophy, I have this classification of 4 grades of atrophy. And when you look at somebody's face, regardless of their age, grade 1, where they don't need any fillers, you don't see anything happening in their face. Grade 2 is the first sign of atrophy and starting to need something done is the appearance of the medial tear trough. While grade 3, where this tear trough becomes intermediate and lateral, and full tear trough appearance with eye bagging, regardless of the age of the patient. If she's 20 and have a full tear trough, she's grade 3. And these are the patients who will require something to be done, either fat grafting or defillers and so forth. And grade 4, the most severe form of facial atrophy, can be diagnosed if you look at the temporal area and you can see severe temporal hollowness. Those are the patients who usually require fat grafting rather than filling. So I'm going to take a 5 minutes break, and we'll collect in exactly at the top of the hour. Here in New York, it's 7:46 a.m. So I'm gonna come back at 8 o'clock New York time, the top of the hour, and we're gonna dive more into the cellular basis of aging. Thank you very much. Hello, my colleagues in Saudi Arabia. It is Dr. El Attar, the president of the American Aesthetic Association and the American Board of Cosmetic Gynecology based in the United States. It is my honor and pleasure to invite you to our next fellowship program planned in Saudi Arabia. It is our 10th program that complete the number of trained physicians that went through our 4-day program, up to more than 300 trained doctors. As you know, cosmetic gynecology is the most expansive, exploding subspecialty in medicine in 2023. This is a new field in the field of obstetric and gynecology that is a must for all gynecologists to learn. The reason why? Because patients have menopause around the age of 45 to 50. It means that they will have 30 to 35 years of living with periods, but the postmenopausal women, who are 1 billion women worldwide today, and increasing 20% in that number every year because of the baby boomer population, need your help. Need your help to have a normal life. 50% of women postmenopausally have vulvovaginal atrophy. 50% of women after the age of 50 have stress urinary incontinence, and they will live with these problems for decades after they lose their periods. Can be 3-4 decades. It is a moral responsibility for all of you to master the knowledge of how to treat patients with functional gynecology, to have them, according to the World Health Organization, healthy. Health is defined by the World Health Organization as complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. When you come to the American Aesthetic Association course that we're planning here in Saudi the next few months, you will learn everything about the applied anatomy, how to do genital bleaching, how to utilize fillers and Botox to help women with atrophy of the genital area, dryness problem, vulvovaginal atrophy, and vaginismus, which is 7 to 15% affecting women worldwide. As well, we're going to learn how to use platelet-rich plasma as help to improve vulvovaginal atrophy and things like lichen sclerosis and scars from episiotomy, Bartholin cystectomy, or bad C-section complication. As well, you're going to learn everything about the basic knowledge and the physics of energy-based devices, including laser, including HIFU, including radio frequency, as well as high-intensity focused ultrasound. I'm waiting to see all of you soon in Saudi Arabia to transfer our knowledge and bring our international faculty and be with our Saudi colleagues here in Saudi Arabia and share the knowledge. Looking forward to see all of you very soon. Thank you. Hi, this is Dr. Ayman El Attar from United States. I'll be one of the speakers of the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress in Dubai 2023.
Hi, this is Red Alensod from Dallas, Texas. I am a speaker at the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress in Dubai. See you there.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Carolyn DeLucia, and I'm inviting you to join us once again in Dubai for October 6th through 9 for the IAGC conference. You know it's the place to be when it comes to cosmetic gynecology and aesthetic gynecology. Join us and learn the latest and the greatest. See you there!
Είμαι ο Νίκος Ναόμ, κοσμητικός γυναικολόγος από την Ελλάδα. Θα είμαι ένας από τους ομιλητές στο Παγκόσμιο Συνέδριο Κοσμητικής Γυναικολογίας που θα γίνει στις 6 με 8 Οκτωβρίου του 2023 στο Ντουμπάι. Θα σας δω όλους εκεί.
Γεια σας, είμαι η Μαρία Καρακουλάκη και τον Οκτώβριο θα μιλάω στο Διεθνές Συνέδριο Αισθητικής Γυναικολογίας στο Ντουμπάι. Θα σας δω εκεί.
Herkese merhaba. İstanbul'dan kozmetik jinekolog Doktor Özgür Ağlamış ben. Bu sene 2023'te International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress tekrardan Dubai'de düzenleniyor. Doktor Ayman El Attar her sene muhteşem bir bilimsel şölen hazırlıyor. Bu alanda, genital estetik alanında dünyanın en iyileri bu kongreye geliyor. Tecrübelerini meslektaşlarıyla paylaşıyor. Ben de bu kongrede tecrübelerimi meslektaşlarımla paylaşacağım. Bu muhteşem organizasyonu Doktor Ayman El Attar'ın düzenlediği bu kongreyi kaçırmayın. 6-8 Ekim tarihinde Dubai'de görüşmek dileğiyle. Sağlıkla kalın, hoşça kalın.
Dzień dobry, nazywam się Piotr Kolczewski, jestem z Polski, jestem ginekologiem plastycznym i mam wielką przyjemność być wykładowcą na kolejnym kongresie Towarzystwa Ginekologii Plastycznej prowadzonego przez Aymana El Attara w październiku 2023 roku. Do zobaczenia.
Dzień dobry. Nazywam się Rafał Kuźlik, jestem ginekologiem plastycznym z Polski, z Warszawy, z kliniki Saskamed i mam przyjemność być lektorem zaproszonym na kolejny Międzynarodowy Kongres IAGC 2023 w Dubaju, który odbędzie się w dniach 6, 7, 8 października. Zapraszam, zobaczmy się tam. Do zobaczenia.
السلام عليكم، أنا الدكتور أحمد البدر، أدعوكم إلى مؤتمر التجميل النسائي في دبي أكتوبر 2023. أهلا وسهلا.
Bonjour, je suis le docteur Hichem Ben Smaïl et c'est un grand honneur pour moi de vous inviter au Congrès international de gynécologie esthétique et fonctionnelle qui aura lieu à Dubaï du 6 au 8 octobre de cette année 2023. Donc je serai très heureux de vous retrouver là et je vous dis à bientôt.
سلام، دکتر شهناز شایانفر، جراح و متخصص زنان و زایمان و کاسمتیک اند ریکانستراکتیو سرجن از ایران هستم. من در IAGC 2023 سخنرانی خواهم داشت در دبی و امیدوارم شما رو ببینم. متشکر، خداحافظ.
با سلام و احترام، دکتر شهرزاد شعبانی نیا هستم، فلوشیپ کازماتیک سرجری. به عنوان یک ایرانی مفتخر هستم در بهترین و بزرگترین کنگره زیبایی زنان IAGC سخنران باشم. به امید دیدار شما در دبی اکتبر 2023.
السلام عليكم، أنا دكتور عمرو عباسي من مصر. أدعوكم لحضور المؤتمر التجميل النسائي الوظيفي المقام في 6 أكتوبر 2023. أراكم على خير.
أنا دكتور عمرو أبو اليزيد من مصر. أنا محاضر في المؤتمر الدولي الخامس للتجميل الأنثوي المقام في دبي من 6 ل 8 أكتوبر 2023. أشوفكم على خير.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rupila Bhatia, working as Head of Urogynecology and Cosmetic Gynecology in Mediclinic Jawhara, Alain. I'm one of the speakers for the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress from 6th to 8th of October. See you all there.
السلام عليكم، أنا الدكتور أيمن قطاونة من الأردن عمان. بدعوكم لحضور مؤتمر التجميل النسائي والذي سيقام في دبي إن شاء الله بشهر 10. نراكم هناك إن شاء الله.
مرحبا، معكم دكتور ريهام علي من سوريا. رح أكون محاضرة بمؤتمر التجميل النسائي العالمي المقام بدبي. نلقاكم هناك.
Okay, so we are back. So all of you probably are wondering, can we live 200 years? And I can see the answers across the Zoom. Probably not. It's the same like if you ask someone in 1900s, can I have breakfast here in New Jersey and have dinner in Dubai the same day? And the answer will be not. But actually we will. Sometime soon, humans will live beyond 200 years and retire fully healthy at the age of 175. And the reason why I'm saying that, because always remember, all medical sciences have doubled in amount between 1900 and 1950. Right now, medical information doubles every 73 days. Every day that passes by, there is so much advances in medical sciences going parallel to advances in technology, in computers, in artificial intelligence, and so forth. So currently, these are the 7 mechanisms of death and aging: the DNA and genetic theory, the chromosomal or telomerase theory, the neuroendocrine theory, the free radical theory, cell membrane theory, sugar theory or cross-linking theory, and mitochondrial DNA polymerase defect theory. So, not to overwhelm any of you, these are the 7 treatable mechanisms of death. What that means that we can definitely delay death, and we can definitely delay aging, and we're starting to scratch the surface of a 12-kilometer deep Pacific Ocean. We're still scratching the first few centimeters of the surface of the ocean. And in another 100 years, maybe humans will live 1,000 years. They did before, we know that. So let's jump into it in details. So the first one is the genetic theory. We have two types of age: the age that determines your chronological presence on this planet. And in my case, I'm now 58. But according to my friend Stephen Horvath in Harvard, who in 2013 invented the Horvath biological clock, measuring the amount of aging in your tissues by the amount of methyl groups attached to amino acid cytosine in your chromosome, my age is different, it's 41. And why is that? Because we have two types of age. You have a chronological age, which is written in your passport, and you have a biological age, which how you function and how's your system functioning. We have a very rare disease called progeria. Progeria is or Hutchinson-Clifford syndrome, was first described in 1886. And since the discovery, there's about 100 reported cases. In 1897, Hastings Clifford recorded the syndrome, which happened because of autosomal recessive genetic inheritance. Progeria means premature aging. And most of these inflicted individuals will live only about 10 to 15 years and die at the age of 15 looking like they are 100. It's simple encoding defect of laminin protein responsible for nuclear membrane stability. And because of this defect, 90% of the children have a mutation in that laminin encoding gene. And upon death, you have swollen veins, absent eyebrows and eyelashes, peak-shaped nose, shrunken chin, premature cardiac disease, narrow chest, swollen stiff joints, and age spots, and they look like they're 100. I told you it took us about 13 years of research to decipher the human genome. The sequence of your barcode made of 4 amino acids: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Here in the United States today, for one day, $750 instead of for the 13 years and $1.2 billion spent, we can read your entire human genome. And in this genome, there is the sentences that will tell us what diseases you will have, what degree of intelligence you will have. Will you be a president of the United States, or will you be a serial killer, for example? Everything is written in your barcode. And with gene therapy, we can inject a virus that remove this ill sequence of traits, like, for example, ovarian cancer, hypertension, diabetes, prostate cancer, and so forth. And this is coming very soon in the future. In 2017, the Department of Genetics in Harvard, headed by David Sinclair, have found that you have on your chromosome a protein called PARP1 protein. And PARP1 protein is responsible for fixing any abnormalities or any disruption of the sequence of adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine that happens from diet, lifestyle, smoking, toxins, pollution, radiation, and so forth, leaving this sequence completely untouched, completely uninterrupted, exactly like the mask of King Tutankhamun in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo in a vacuum glass box. It will always shine like it was done yesterday. The problem is this protein have another protein called the DBC1 protein, like a bad wife, that comes and attached to it over time, preventing the PARP1 protein from doing its function. Accordingly, there will be disruption of the sequence of your amino acids, adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. There will be abnormalities, development of cancer, development of aging, and so forth. So if we find the solution to divorce this computer system that keeps your chromosome or your genetic material always healthy, always young, always brand new,
and divorce it from the DBC1 protein, we have an achievement. So this drug was founded by the researchers in Harvard, niacin mononucleotide. So niacin mononucleotide divorces the DBC1 protein from the PARP1 protein, allowing PARP1 protein to regain its function. So they brought two animal groups, rats, which is aged 2 years, which is 80 years in human life. Every year in a rat is a 4-year in human, and fed one group the niacin mononucleotide. The niacin mononucleotide in the gut will transform into a structure called NAD. And NAD have spliced or divorced the PARP1 protein here that you see from the hampering or the bad wife called the DBC1 protein, allowing this to regain its function, fixing all the errors that happened with time, and actually expose them as well to radiation. And they found they were resistant to the effects of radiation. And in 1 month, this group or taken the drug have reversed back to the age of 20. So silence information regulation as well, or sirtuin activity or activation are responsible for longevity of humans. So on your chromosome, we have a SIRT1, SIRT3, and SIRT6. And all these chromosomes that you see here are in kilometers length. And because it's in kilometers length, full of information, it has to be organized somehow by wrapping it around what we call a histone, like a garden hose, which is very long. So you have to put that garden hose around a circle, a tire, in order for it to wrap it. And this histone function is simply to rotate during the process of formation of a certain protein to expose the right sequence of letters, the right sentence. For example, I need to replace my cartilage in my knee because I have worn my knees walking on it for 58 years, and now it's about time to make a chondrocyte. So let's say the chondrocyte sentence is adenine thymine guanine cytosine. So it will rotate that part of the chromosome, exposing this to the ribosomes and making a chondrocyte normal. But with aging, like a CD player in your car, when you want to listen to a certain sound or a certain music, you put it on track 3. And track 3 is that particular song you want to listen to. It's information, it's digital information. But with time, this CD in your car have scratched. So if you put it in your CD player and play track 3, because of the scratch in your CD, it will skip. It will give you noise or epigenetic noise and will give you the wrong message. So instead of you having adenine thymine guanine cytosine and make a chondrocyte, it will give you the wrong sentence and you make a fibroblast, not a chondrocyte, and so you age. So they brought these mice as well and fed them niacin mononucleotide. And what niacin mononucleotide have done with these twin rats, that it polished your histone like a CD player when you put toothpaste on it and you polish it back to originality. So it exposed the right sequence of amino acids in the sentence, and hence the gray hair turned into black, all the joints came back to normal, the cardiac function, the liver function, and all the internal organs went back, what we call senolytic medicine or age reversal medicine, and this is the future. This is my friend Stephen Horvath in Harvard, who invented the Horvath clock for epigenetic analysis and measured it by a blood test, measuring the amount of methyl groups attached to your cytosine, because methylated cytosine will kill you. When you have a full methylation of your cytosine, you die. So this is the drug that we have it available, actually niacin mononucleotide or NMN at 250 milligram daily intake, that helps to polish your histone, helps to divorce your PRP1 protein from the CBD1 protein, reversing aging that happened in the chromosome. Another product as well that I highly recommend, and I have been taking it daily myself since 2017, resveratrol. Resveratrol is in a transform is dominant, including cellular responses like cell cycle arrest, differentiation, apoptosis, and enhanced cancer cells anti-proliferation. It has an antioxidant effect, anti-cancer effect, cardiac protective effect, neuroprotective effect, and anti-inflammatory as well as antimicrobial. So this is the commercially available niacin mononucleotide. Recently, the FDA has started regulating that because of the overwhelming interest of the public in the United States to use niacin mononucleotide. So other alternatives for it that are available in the market is the NAD drugs. Another theory is the telomere. We know from 1961, Leonard Hayflick noted that we're born with 60 billion cells, we have 50 mitosis, and then we die because of programmed cell death or cellular apoptosis, where the cells stop dividing. And we didn't know the significance of Hayflick limit or the reason why this happened. Why don't we divide 500 times or 5,000 times? But in 1973, Oleksiy Olonovik have deciphered the reason. The reason is at the end of each chromosome, we have a sequence of 6 amino acids: thiamine, thymine, adenine, guanine, guanine, guanine. You see? Thymine, thymine, adenine, guanine, guanine, guanine, and it repeats itself. It repeats itself. And it has no genetic function whatsoever. The only reason we have that, because when you do mitosis, you have a leading strand, because your chromosome will splice into 2 elements, a long leading strand and a short lagging strand. And in order for mitosis to happen and your cells to divide, to proliferate and heal a wound or heal a structure or make you grow or replace your losses, you have to have a mitosis. And in order for the mitosis or the cellular division to happen, you have to have equal length of these leading and lagging strands. So what the telomere does, it fills in this gap and make these 2 equal. So when you are wearing a shoe, you always see this plastic piece at the end of a shoelace. Telomere serves the same function. It prevents the chromosome from fraying. And when we are born, we have a full telomere, 100% telomere. Look at it like a bank account. You have $1,000 in the bank account, and every time you do a mitosis, you lose $10. So after you divide, or $20, after you divide 50 times, you have 0 bank account, and you're not able to divide anymore, and you die. So if we find a solution that we always have to find a way of investing in your bank account, like a investment account or a CD, which have interest, which replenishes your bank account every time you draw some money, and you continue to have telomere at the age of 100, you will have another 50 mitoses to do. And this process was discovered by 3 scientists. In 1984, Carol Grieder, Elizabeth Blackburn discovered a human enzyme called the telomerase enzyme. And the telomerase enzyme simply is able to replenish your bank account. So the telomerase maintain the telomere, can actually restore the short ends to its original length at birth. And actually, in December 7, 2009, these researchers with Jacques Stozak received the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for the discoveries in the relationship to telomerase and telomere and aging. So that was a huge advancement, that you're able to replenish your telomere indefinitely. In 2018, a Chinese plant called astragalus, not everything comes from China as COVID, there's certain good things come out, was found to have the ability to activate the telomerase enzyme and reactivates resting or senescent cells. The drug is called TA65. It's commercially available. The only problem is it's a super expensive drug, $600 for 90 tablets. And it is usually age-dependent dose. So my mother at 80 takes 1 gram a day. I take 500 milligrams a day. And usually it's supplies at 250 milligrams tablets. Neuroendocrine theory. Simply, like I said, 4 things happen with this very complex neuroendocrine system in our body. All the hormones decrease, the cortisol increase, the receptors decrease in sensitivity, and the feedback between the hypothalamus, pineal gland, thyroid, liver, thymus, stomach, pancreas, kidney, testes, and urine, and uterus, ovaries will be disrupted. So the change will result in menopause, andropause, adrenopause, and somatopause as well in the whole entire body. So Vladimir Delman and Dean Ward elaborated on the wear and tear and the hypothalamus control a chain reaction, instructing other organs to release their hormones. So, for example, the growth hormone is simple. We have daily production of 500 microgram at the age of 20. That's why we see all these college students or college girls playing basketball on the beach, whatever, with a lot of activity. While at the age of 40, you have a drop of this growth hormone production to 200. And the age of 80 is only 25. So the growth hormone deficiency will lead to thinning of the skin, dry and cool, and make the venous access difficult. This is just a simple example of one of the hormones affected. Testosterone replacement in men led to sharper mind, confidence, happiness, increased muscle mass, healthier heart, strong erection and libido, stronger bones, and a lot of energy. Significantly higher levels of endogenous testosterone had been demonstrated in women with more active sexual life. And sexually active menopausal women have definitely better vaginal and vulval tropism. Androgens are permitting factor for nitric oxide. Nitric oxide stimulates the neurogenic congestion of the clitoris and vestibular balls of corpora cavernosa and partly of the vagina. Cortisol, as I said, is the black hormone or the death hormone, can cause decreased metabolism, depression, hypertension, chronic fatigue, sleep deprivation, migraines, tunnel vision, acid reflux, hostility, hunger, arthritis, and decreased immune system. So we have to put a stop on the level of cortisol excess by using DHEA 50 milligram daily as part of the senolytic regimen. Another example of the anti-aging drug, 750 milligram of metformin, given not for diabetes purpose, but for receptor stimulation. It's a simple insulin receptor stimulation or sensitizer, the same like Provigil that is used as a wakefulness promoting agents for noradrenaline sensitivity as well.
We begin.
Hi, everyone. We're here today to insert a hormonal pellet.
So this is my
This
colleague,
patient is only getting
Caroline
testosterone to improve her symptoms.
Yeah,
I'm going to
placing testosterone pellet for hormone replacement therapy in a female using a trocar, and we can place these pellets, as you see here, into the subcutaneous area in the gluteal region, and then we put a little bit of a steady strip and it's done. So we usually give women 25 micrograms testosterone every 4 months for replacement.
Let's talk about oxidation theory. Simply, oxidation, we're exposed to a lot of oxygen. Vladimir Denham Harman in 1956 discovered that theory, and he said that we produce a lot of oxygen free radicals through extrinsic processes or intrinsic processes, including enzymes, lipoxygenases, cytochrome P450 in the liver, NAD, pH oxidase. And these oxygen-free radicals will go and destroy different structures in the human body. So when we give any antioxidant that supplement this missing oxygen-free radical defect or electron donor, simply will stabilize this anti-oxidation processes and will stop it. Where can we find the antioxidants? We can find it in any colored food. We find it in grapes, lychees, pears, pomegranate, apricots, cranberry, kiwi. Anything with color will be a great antioxidant to give. The next theory is the theory of cell membrane. And Dr. Nagy from Hungary described that upon aging or passage of time, the biphospholipid membrane of our cells becomes more stiff with disruption of the sodium-potassium bond effect, leading to accumulation of lipofuscin granules inside the cells. And these granules were found in excess in the neurons in Alzheimer patients. So one of the new supplements that we have here in America is Lucidril, 250 and 500 milligrams. And Lucidril, or centrophonoxine, is the most efficient substance currently available for removal of lipofuscin granules. Was found to improve cellular membrane function and intercellular communication. The next theory is sugar. In the Middle East, they eat a lot of sugar. They have a lot of desserts, a lot of sweets, especially in feasts and Ramadan and so forth. And what was found that sugar will attach it to your proteins, cause glycosylation of your proteins, and hence hampering or destroying or disrupting the function of your proteins, making them ineffective or resistant to protease enzyme action. So the less sugar you use, the longer you live, because sugar can affect the brain, the skin, the liver, kidney, fertility, pancreas, stomach, heart, and even your mouth, leading to tooth decay and gum disease. Finally, mitochondrial DNA polymerase defect theory. Remember, the genetic material inside the nucleus is protected by a nuclear membrane, while the mitochondria exposed to all kinds of environmental toxins and so forth with no protection because it's sitting in the cytoplasm. So Trifovonic et al. In 2004 found that transgenic mouse with inactivation of the enabling of the rereading, recopying of mitochondrial DNA lead to acceleration of aging in that paper they published in 2004. Finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about aging in menopause, because the world now have 1.1 billion menopausal women, which constitute about 1/8 of the world population right now. And those people will live for another 40 years. And then hence we have the International Aesthetic Gynecology Congress in Dubai. This year is going to be the 6th run of the Congress. And I highly encourage all of you, whether you're aesthetic or a gynecologist, to attend it to address to these issues, because, for example, the sales of adult diapers in America exceed the sales of baby diapers, because 50% of women above 50 have a problem with stress incontinence. And you can imagine the life of a woman who's in the top of her career and financial situation is very stable, but she has to wear a diaper every day. She leaves her house for the next 50 years. Ridiculous, right? So anyway, so the genital tract in women is very high in estrogen. You see that testosterone with aromatase enzyme will lead to estradiol formation. There are causes of estrogen deficiency that could be temporary or permanent in women. And estrogen deficiency will lead to disruption of collagen metabolism, increase the pH, increase infection, and so forth.
there will be decreased synthesis and increased degradation, leading to genitourinary symptoms of menopause, vulvovaginal atrophy, and relaxation of pelvic ligament muscles and tones. Hence, what we call the lost tampon syndrome or lost penis syndrome, when women feel loose. The estradiol deficiency, we found that vaginal lubrication, one of the most common complaints of postmenopausal women, with an average decrease of vaginal secretion by 50%. After menopause, the vaginal pH increases from a normal of 3.5 to 4.5 up to 6 to 7.3, which lead to alkalinization of urine, disruption of collagen metabolism, increased yeast infection. Increased vaginal dryness with plasma estradiol concentration below 50 picogram per deciliter. The normal range in non-menopausal is about 150 picogram per deciliter. Vasoactive intestinal peptide stimulates the neurogenic transit during sexual excitation or sexual arousal. Estrogen are very powerful permitting factor of vasoactive intestinal peptide. Androgens are permitting factor for nitric oxide that stimulates the neurogenic congestion of the clitoris and vestibular bulb. Finally, I would like to invite you again to attend our upcoming Congress in Dubai in collaboration with Top House Conferences. October 6 and 7 will be lectures. October 8 will have two major workshops. One is surgical and one in non-surgical. Please do not forget to follow me on Instagram. This is my Instagram, and follow the American Aesthetic Association at Amelia.official on Instagram. And now I'm going to see if I can answer a few of your questions that I can see here in front of me. So I have a few questions. I had a question about, before starting, how to seal a deep scar on the face. Acne scar. Ice pick scarring is a very challenging problem. And if it is a rolling scar or boxcar scar, we can use a combination of subcision, filler. You can do PRP. You can do microneedling and laser resurfacing, several chemical peeling, a series of chemical peeling. Sunscreen is effective indoors. We have to keep in mind, ultraviolet A penetrate through the clouds and through the glass. So if you are sitting in a home like mine, where I have a huge sunroom and the light is going through the glass everywhere, I probably should wear sunscreen indoors. But if your house have only like fluorescent lighting or artificial light, you don't have to. But sunscreen have to be always worn during the day. As long as there is light in the sky, there is always UVA that causes aging. Do you have a webinar on laser hair removal? No, we don't. Does the moisturizing ointment delay the process of skin aging? Ointment is oil. Ointment is oil-based, not water-based. So my advice to you is always use a water-based moisturizer. The only reason we use oil-based moisturizer is to follow up on a procedure when we have removed epidermis. For example, you did a medium depth peel or you did a laser resurfacing. Then you have to seal the moisture for a few days until epidermis regrows within 48 hours. But for daily routine, after using a cleanser, you have to use a water-based, not an oil-based or an ointment moisturizer. How frequent should we wash our skin, hair daily or every other day? And how many times per week to avoid harmful effect of soap? Well, it depends on your, usually in America, we have to take a shower at least once a day, you know, because people are very funny about how you smell. But you have to use the least amount of synthetic stuff over your face and your hair. So I think you should just use one without too much fragrance and too much artificial additives to your soap or your shampoo. What is the best treatment for pigmentation? There's no best treatment for pigmentation. Pigmentation happened because of the effect of tyrosinase enzyme into amino acid tyrosine causing dopaquinone. So you have to use one of these 22 commercially available tyrosinase inhibitors, and you have to tell the patients that pigmentation is a process of living. Every time you breathe, every time you go to the bathroom, your melanocyte put a drop of melanin into your skin. Melanin is made of melanosomes, which range of size between 0.5 micron in white people to 1 micron in black people, and it goes through the dendrites of the melanocytes with exostosis, endostosis into the cytoplasm, then intranuclear. So actually it serves as an umbrella shielding your DNA or your chromosome from the incident ultraviolet radiation. It's a very, very, very, very, very challenging process, especially in certain races, according to Lancer Skin Classification 1998, Middle Eastern, Indian, American, Asian, and Hispanics are afflicted by this problem, and they have to do a whole lot of maintenance. There is no magic cure of pigmentation. It's a continuous process of following up and continue to wash these over and over again. Patient with keloid tendency, can she take fillers? Is there a risk for keloid formation in the face? With filler application through cannula or needle, I don't see that this is a really common practice, at least in my last 23 years of putting fillers in people's faces. Keloid happen more often in the ears, in the suprasternal region, above the clavicles. But if you have any wound, like a cut or a trauma in the face, and you have a keloid, again, I told you the answer. The answer is 8 parts of 5-fluorouracil with 1 part of Kenalog or triamcinolone acetinoid 10%. But I wouldn't refrain from putting fillers for fear of keloid in the face. This is not realistic. Is the starting creams or medication contain hyaluronic acid delay aging? Remember, hyaluronic acid is 100% until 25, and then with hyaluronidase enzyme, you have internal hyaluronidase ERAP of your content. Remember, all the creams that contain hyaluronic acid have it in the non-cross-linked format. Non-cross-linked format only lasts 72 hours because it's destroyed by your natural occurring hyaluronidase enzyme within 72 hours. So it can help to hydrate the skin, give you more hygroscopic effect, which blocks the pores, blocks the fine lines, but use it on a regular basis will delay aging. It will make you look good, but I'm not sure it will delay aging. Okay, I think I answered as many as I can. And again, I would like Ahmed, my organizer, and Shaima and Marwa, my organizer from Top House Conference, to say a word here for you guys. And I really appreciate their efforts to make this happen and their intense cooperation and making this possible for all of you. And it was a pleasure sharing a little bit of my knowledge with you, and hopefully we'll see you sometime soon in a live event. Ahmed, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Any other comment before I go to make some money?
No, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon in another webinar. Thank you so much. Can I leave now?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.